Learn, teach, master data analysis COVID around the world. Hello everyone, my name is Shinizo Nikachizumaka, and I am going to be talking on COVID-19 data analysis around the world. Basically, I have done a significant amount of analysis with respect to utilizing different analytical tools to talk on COVID cases that has transpired across several other countries in the globe. And one has shown me how valid and how aggressive some of the cases has been with respect to COVID-19. And I just decided to take it upon myself to just remind everyone that this analysis showcases the levels and describes how much lives COVID has affected and how much lives COVID has taken. So we'll just get right onto it. So right now on my page, I have currently opened up a tableau where I have done a brief visual representation of how some of the cases have indicated. So just to give a tip, let's start with the sheet 1. Now in this sheet here, I give a briefing on how China has showcased, or Nigeria has showcased with respect to some of the cases. So if you see here in terms of new people that have been fully vaccinated, you will notice that they will have it 267 cases in terms of full vaccination, over 1 billion. In terms of new cases, we've had over 1,223. Now, just to name a few, if I was to go into it, you would see that right here in China, another one in China, you will notice that I have it in a bubble chart where I'm going to show you how some of the cases have been across the days. Now, in the darker blue, you could tell that these ones over the 2021 were at the peaks. 2021, where you see cases like, for example, here, there were, in terms of new cases, there was over 12,000 cases in total. It spiked up to 236, over 236,000 cases. Whereas if you was to slim down back in 2020, we would have had over 641 cases. Now by then there was also a massive spike. Now how I basically do this is because Tableau, when you normally upload a Excel spreadsheet that you already detailed in, it will showcase it gives proper visual representation of how some of these days has looked. This is just with respect to China. Now, if I come here and I decide to change the graph a bit and I put it in this visual representation, you will see how which days among it has had the most cases. So, for example, 2021, again with over 12,531. At these ones, it was over 11,000 cases. Now, just to continue from there, you would see where I did another one with respect to Trinidad and Tobago, where I showcased how many cases there were, from as small as, if I was to go to the tiniest, starting off at 2020. Just 2020 at 8, there were only 26 cases, but no deaths. Then as we slowly go up, you will see that up until 2022, there were cases where you have over 6,189 with deaths of 130, 178. Now, mind you, with respect to Trinidad and Tobago, this is currently a small country of over 1.something million people. So such deaths would have been very, 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 very significant. Now, I have up to here currently the GDP with respect to that have occurred in several, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, with respect to GDP, where the new deaths with respect to, new vaccinations with respect to the old, how it has affected the GDP of the country, whereas the GDP kept on going higher due to the increase in the new deaths. Over here, I've done what I call a split up of some of the new vaccinations that have occurred, the total stares, as well as the total deaths. And basically what I call a three-dimensional graph, where you'll be able to see the average as well as the total that's occurred within some of these. I went on here to also show it on a different graph. This is now aligning it. The stats, these different types of tests that may have co-predate. Let me go into right here. All right, so what we have here will be some of the cases that occurred in a different country like Europe, Germany, where you have it at 956 with respect to 1,912. These are some of the cases that have occurred, the average cases that have occurred over the years, with the average new deaths that have also occurred. This is just with respect to Germany. And you go to Mexico, you see that this is Mexico, in where I'm showing the average new cases that have occurred with respect to the dates. And in Mexico, you will see that in the darker blue, you would have had of over 58,000 cases, 13,000 cases out of 6.8 million cases that have occurred. So this is just to showcase how aggressive some of these cases have been with respect to the new cases. Now, I'm going to try and see if I could take out the new cases and let me see if I could take out the new cases and show you what it would have been like in terms of the deaths that occurred. If I was to come here and make it an average, let me see how it would look. This is what it will look like if we're just discussing about the deaths that have occurred in Mexico. Now, you will notice that the imagery is given like a spiral form, because this is indicating how the deaths would have been. Like here, there were 0 cases, but we've had over a lot. Whereas, let me see if we can find one that has a number. Usually the ones that are bigger will be the biggest sizes. Let me see. Like, for example, you'll see here they have 76. It was somewhere around here, I believe they should have about 1,000. There was one where you could see the bigger bubble chart showing about 1,000. Let me put it up in here now. This is officially a different case, where you won't see much deaths would have occurred in Mexico, but the cases would have been increasing nonetheless. Let me move on to a different country. Now, this is just showcasing how it would have looked like with respect to South Africa. The average new cases versus the average new deaths. How in the average new cases in 2021, 29th of August, you would have had over the average being 676,960, with in relevance to the average new deaths would have been 2,210. This is just to show it on that of the charts. Bring out a different chart so you will be able to notice. Now, you look at right here, we're just scrambling around to look at some how the visual representation would look. Now, if I was to take it to the graph and put, let's just say what I have here is the dates with respect to the average new cases for Nigeria, you will notice that there's no sign of any cases that would have occurred in the early 2020. But as soon as we get a little further in, you will see where it will start to increase and have a huge spike as of 2021, 24th, where average cases went all the way up to over 11,000. That's just on average, and has been up and down at that point after slowly going down later on in 2021. That would have been around the time where we'd have had several situations with respect to some people, a lot of us have an immunity. Now, mind you, you probably look at it and from the case of why would it be that Nigeria would have this amount, but with respect to a different country, they will keep on increasing, but Nigeria would have it small like this. Well, usually if you study more of environmental situations, one can indicate that, oh, then Nigeria have had an amount of immunity over the years with respect to having cases such as Ebola and situations like that. And because of such immunities, it would have allowed one to be able to allow COVID to bypass. So it wouldn't have been much effect, whereas certain countries that are not new to viruses, that have not been prone to viruses in that sense, like for example, France or China would have had a significant increase. And as of around 2021, it was that China and France were amongst the two biggest countries to have the most COVID cases at the fastest rate versus the United States. It was North America that came shortly right after, but it was between China and France that were competing at one point in time. So this is just to show how it looks in the visual representation with respect to some of the information. And this is just my preview of how it looks on the tableau. So thank you very much. Everyone, so I'm just continuing from my previous conversation with respect to how I show some of the cases and how it looks on that of the tableau aspect. Now we're just going over to how it looks from the Excel situation. So in order for me to be able to properly show the visual data representation in Tableau, it would have been cleared, filtered, and smoothing with that of Excel. So what we have going on here is that I've just taken the full-blown data and I'm just nitpicking a few, for example, that of Europe and France, where I show the total cases, new cases, and then the cases smoothing, total deaths, new deaths, and then the total cases per million, and then total cases, total deaths per million. Now, you will notice that I have a bunch of arrows that are just showing how, as of right now, between dates of 25th to 25th of January 2020, there was no indication of any deaths, no movements going on at the moment. And then as one scrolls down slowly, you start to see the numbers increase from 3 to 6 to 12, moving in double digits and so forth. You will now see how the arrows are still at low because it started off small. But as the years continue to go by, the numbers will start to spike, where you see it here as new cases start to show up. Like as of right now, with new cases being at over 2.2 million going on, and then shows a significant increase by 3, some of the new cases going up. Now you notice that why the arrows are still going down, because at one point in time, this is just showing a consistency of the average of cases that have been going on. This is just showing the average cases pertaining to million. For example, you have right here where it maintains at 285.57 million. So cases with respect to cases per million. And in some months you just see 0.248. Just to move on to another, I have out here where I utilized the data analysis to showcase the different metrics in terms of the total new cases, total deaths, and so forth, where I calculated the mean, the standard deviation, the median, and mode. So in all this, it's just to show as to the metrics and how, what was the range, these are all just data numbers for the purpose of showing people. This is just the technical point of view of how much COVID has affected several countries. And in the broadened scheme, one can now indicate that COVID has impacted and taken a lot of lives from it, where you see even the mean here for total cases was over a million, 1.9. Yes, over a million. that occurred, over 19 million to be more exact, that occurred with respect to that, with respect to the amount of cases that occurred this is just in Germany alone. So this is just my little preview of how some of the cases have looked. Thank you.